So now we're going to enter into the part of the proceedings that you're all been waiting for, so get your pens and pencils and notebooks out. The do's and don'ts of AB1616 in general terms. We mostly want to get your questions and answer them to the best of our ability. And we realize that there are, and this is from the health department, there are going to be some questions that we just can't answer because we don't know the answers to these questions. We're going to be writing those down. We're also going to be writing down those issues that we think should be resolved in a cleanup bill. So if you get extra points for posing a really good question and an issue that we hadn't thought of before, which I don't know, may not be that hard. We'll see. But now I want to introduce Freddie and Zebby, who are from the LA County Department of Environmental Health, and they are here to answer all your questions about AB 1616.
That's a good start.
I can start, I guess, by talking about my personal experience in doing this. What I had, well, there's a choice. You can get a Class A or Class B permit. How many of you are familiar with the ins and the outs of AB 1616? And how many of you are complete newbies to this? All right, well, we'll give sort of an overview here. Do you want me to do that, or do you want to? I'll give the overview, and then Freddie can say, no, that's wrong. This is the way it goes. So, from my perspective, this is the way it goes. AB 1616 just permits us to actually bake not potentially hazardous foods at home and sell them. When we wrote this bill, we had hoped that it would be sort of a health food bill, that it would increase the quality of and healthiness of the food that was available to people in California, because it would be more locally made, more locally produced food. But then we got a close look at the foods that were actually permitted to be made under this law, and we realized it's not a very long list, and apart from bread, of course, it's not all that healthy per se. It's because you can't use anything that, if you left it out on the counter, would go bad. It's just that anytime you move into time temperature control, that's potentially hazardous food. I mean, you leave some milk on the counter long enough, you drink it, you're not going to feel so good. My bread, on the other hand, you leave it out on the counter, it's admittedly going to go stale, but it's not going to kill you if you eat it. In fact, they put it in a good croutons. So that really is, in a sense, the dividing line. Now, there's more fine points to this, of course. And when it comes right down to it, I mean, the list is posted on the state website. That's the bottom line here. Remember, these guys work for the County of Los Angeles, and as I discovered, there are 58 counties in California, each of which has its own health department, and each of which is implementing this state law at its own pace. And again, Los Angeles is far ahead of most counties in California. And in my humble opinion, I think this has something to do with the fact that I've been working with Angela Palumbo, who heads the Environmental Health Department here in Los Angeles County, since day one. And remember I said I had to become best friends with the health department? This is the result. I mean, as a best friend, I can get this passed through the county. I was amazed at how fast it went through, but it did. And it shows that the county is big and complicated. Look, I'll tell the story. January 1st, 2013, there was not one, not two, but 3 new health programs going into effect here in LA County. In addition to this homemade food stuff, they also had a whole new program set up to regulate tattoo parlors. Never happened before. Tattoo parlors. So there you got homemade food, you got tattoos, and the third one is those adult film performers have to wear condoms now. And that went into effect on January 1st, 2013. So I said, Angela, look, I really can't help you much with the comments of the tattoos. By all means, I'm your mom. I'll help you however I can. But it's just testament to the fact that they're taking this very, very seriously, that Freddie is here today to basically oversee this smooth implementation, and it's been going very, very well. Just in contrast, San Francisco County, Alameda County, clueless. They don't know. There's people up there, which is like the nexus, the focal point of homemade food, artisanal food in California. They're screaming because nobody is giving them any information up there. They just don't know what to do. There's a couple of things that really are, well, one big issue that's not quite in place yet, and I'll start talking about that now. Because one of the things that we are required to do under this law is to take a cottage food operators course that's supposed to be offered by the state of California. The only two roles that the state of California is playing in the entire process is to offer this course and to post a list of the foods that we're permitted to make at home under this legislation. Now, they did really well on the food list. It's there for all to see. And they're also the ones that are going to be in charge of figuring out what has to be added to this, what should be added to the list, and what should be taken off the list. And one of the things that I want to do, but I think should be done, is to really make sure that there is a process, an established process for getting things on the list. Because if you look at the list, that can't be everything that's not potentially hazardous. There's got to be more.
Can you tell us what's on the list?
Oh, bread. No, bread, baked goods that don't have cream or meat fillings. You can't have any fresh vegetables, any fresh fruits, any meat, any dairy products, any of the stuff that could go bad. You got your granola, you got your cakes, you got your pies, you got a bunch of other stuff like that, jams, jellies, some. But there's a whole federal thing that you get into with jams and jellies. So you have to be aware of those guidelines as well. But they're there. Tamales. Hold on a second. Yes?
I just have a real quick question. Like, for instance, eggs. I know you can get powdered dried eggs. Now, it's not going to spoil sitting out on the counter, so it's okay to use that in your product?
Okay, so the way the law says is actually when you're done with the product, is it going to be non-potential hazardous food? So when it's set out, does it need refrigeration or not? So using the dry milk, eggs, you can use that to make whatever you're making, but when it's done, what are you making? Is that product going to be shelf stable? So that's what the law can do. When it says non-potential, it's not really making it. When it's done, how we maintain it. And most of this bread and all that, it can be shelf stable. You go to the grocery store, it's not in the refrigerator.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Because we just walked in and that's a question I actually had. Like, can you bake or make stuff with dairy so long as after it's done, it can be shelf stable?
So now you have to give me an example where you make it.
Well, if you're making a cookie and it calls for milk,
Right.
can you put milk in
Yes.
and cake so long as after?
Right.
But when you're using that milk at home, and this is what this whole law, moves back, guys, because when restaurants, we tell restaurants even the milk they're going to use have to be refrigerated, have to be 41 degrees until they start using it. At home, we have no control. Maybe saying, if you come to my house, I'm a health inspector. But my wife always tells me, you sure you are a health inspector? And I would say, it's my house. It's private. So the milk sit out and I get somebody sick. I'm getting my family sick.
And my husband says, are you sure you're not a health inspector?
So as long as it's being maintained at the proper temperature, which is 41 or below, and I want to add something to that with this whole bill. Remember, people love your food, they want to buy it and all that until somebody gets sick. And all of a sudden we're not friends anymore.
Right.
So those is something that, when you're using those products that you have to think about, you're maintaining the temperature, you're doing all that, so that as long as you do all that things, then you can say, I did everything right.
Well, let me just talk for a little bit for those people who have not heard about the Cottage Food Law, and I just wanted to give you a couple of basics on it before we get to some more questions. This whole idea about whether food is hazardous, not hazardous, there are real scientific definitions for this. It has to do with active water content, the pH level, all this kind of stuff that's going to be decided at UC Davis or some other scientific institution. So if you want to actually see if the food you're thinking about making is truly not potentially hazardous, you're going to have to send it to UC Davis and have them analyze it and then make your case to the state of make your case to the state of California to get your food added to the list. But for now, shelf stable means you can leave it out at room temperature and it won't go bad. It won't develop horrible things. Now, for you people who don't know much about the Cottage Food Law, let me just tell you that there are two basic classes of permits. There's one's a registration and one is a permit. Class A allows you to sell directly to consumers. That means you can go to farmers markets, you can go through CSAs, church bazaars, swappies, or whatever, but you have to actually physically hand your baked good to the customer. Class B, on the other hand, allows you can also do everything under Class A, but Class B, you're also allowed to do indirect sales. That means you can do it through a shop and a restaurant. The restriction on this is that the indirect sales have to be within your county, except if your county has an agreement with another county that there's a reciprocity. So, for example, and we thought of this specifically for Long Beach, people who live in Long Beach. They say, it's right across the border from Orange County. So we didn't feel that people should be penalized and not be able to go walk across the street in Orange County and not be able to sell there. So the thing is, if the two counties get together and say, okay, fine, you let me sell in Orange County, we'll let them sell in Los Angeles County, that's fine. Now, the one thing that we have to say right now, and I was talking about this with Freddie the other day, that we forgot entirely to include in the bill, and I'm convinced has to go into the bill. We just didn't think of it. Duh, it's restricted to California. Nowhere in the bill does it say that you have to sell just in California. But you do, because once you start making something in California and selling it in Nevada, then that's interstate commerce, and that's it's federal. The California state law, they don't apply because it's federal issues right there. So, I got in lots of fun. I was in a lot of conference calls with the CCDH, the California Conference Director of Environmental Health. And it just never came up because everybody just sort of assumed that everybody else did with that, But I went to look through the legislation the other day, and I couldn't find one reference to it. So I'm going to fix that. And that's so. Any questions? Yes.
What kind of insurance do you have to carry?
Well, you need to contact your insurance company,
Right,
and say this is what you're going to do, and then we're not enforcing that.
right, exactly. Just what I wanted to do is add to that. Remember, this permit allows you to go into business as a cottage food operator, and it's just the health department. That's it. Remember, if you're going to be doing this, you're going to become a small business. And there's lots of other components to this, like taxes and insurance. There's other zoning questions as well. And these are all things that you have to investigate. I mean, it's not easy to set up a small business. I mean, nobody said it was easy, So if you've got questions about all that stuff, we can help to a certain extent, but you know what? It's your responsibility to find out, to investigate this. Yes, let's start here, because I think go ahead.
Okay. Let's say you're in LA County and you're selling to someone in California, but not where a county has proper information or where it's not really formalized. That's still okay.
That's a very good question, I think, for the health department, because you're right. Let's say that somebody has a permit here in Los Angeles County and wants to go to do the the direct sales and wants to go across to Ventura County, which I don't think has its act together yet, and wants to sell it there. Now, isn't the county of residence of the permit holder that's valid? Can they go to another county? Right.
But they need to contact that county to see if they're going to allow them. Us, the county of residence, that's what you make it. You are permanent to do in this county.
Yeah.
So we have no problem. What you're selling it is between you and that county. So some counties may have something else that we don't know.
Okay, the sales, what about internet sales, interstate internet sales? And if you want to answer this one, I know the answer to this too. So I know the answer to this one. You can't do it. You cannot sell it over the internet for delivery to another state. And in fact, I don't even think remember, you have to deliver it to your customer. And we had this issue the other day. Somebody said, well, can I UPS it? And as things currently stand, no. But I think that's something that should be addressed in cleanup. Is the fact that you should, if you have a permit and you want to sell to a customer within either the state of California or in your home county, you should be able to deliver by FedEx or UPS. Now, the bill is silent on that because, duh, we just didn't think about it. But it is a very important issue because a lot of people have already brought this up, and it's something that we have to address in the cleanup bill. So as things stand right now, in LA County anyway, we can't do it.
If that is the LA County rule, since the bill is silent, then by implication, you can sell directly. My husband in San Francisco wants to buy my product, and I'm licensed in Los Angeles County, and I'm selling it directly from my location to their location. Under the legislation language, that should be legal.
Well, the problem is it's how do you transport it? Are you going to do it through UPS or whatever, or mail it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's and Freddie explained what the problem is from the health department's perspective.
Okay, so as the law states right now, two is from me to you. The moment you leave your hands to somebody else, that's not your employee, it's a third party now.
But you're not selling it to that third party.
Right, but think about the food for a second. If it gets damaged, if it gets spoiled, it gets all that. Now it's not you to that person, it's the other party that's involved.
So the idea is giving up control of it. If once you hand it over to UPS, you're giving up control of it. And you've got this neutral third party that has it, and you don't have any control over it. Your customer certainly doesn't have any control over it. So from their
this is
perspective,
what the cleanup needs to, if it says through the means, then that allows her to do it. But at this point, it doesn't. And we're not the only county, but I cannot speak for other counties what they're doing. But other counties have made the same determination saying from the customer, the CFO to the customer.
So when you turn it over to your driver to take it to the farmer's market,
Who's an employee of you, right?
yeah. So it's still under your control because that's your employer. So you have control over it from the moment it leaves to the farmer's market. And assuming the driver is going to be selling it in the farmer's market, or you'll have another employee selling it in the farmer's market. So you'll
Always in your, and then also you can hire one full-time employee.
the equivalent, full-time equivalent.
Right.
So it means you have 3 third-time employees. That's
Next to
all.
the full-time, right?
Right. So.
How does that affect Class A, Class B?
Yeah, can you explain
Because
that?
Class A is direct to the consumer.
Right.
Class B is.
That's a Class A. The one we're speaking right now is a Class A.
Can you talk about Class
So-
B and working through distributor? Because I think a lot of these issues that were just shot down are coming back, at least in my mind, I think very valid solutions to getting the process.
For Class B, it was seen that that's why Class B was set up, so that you could go, it's indirect sales. So yes, you could do it, as far as I can see, you could do it through UPS or FedEx or something like that, if you would license your within your county, or as reciprocity.
Or San Francisco, your example allows that you can sell it or to somebody else in San Francisco.
If you have a Class B
If you have a Class B.
permit.
and you have reciprocity.
And then the reciprocity.
Because there's a number of places in California that are remote, that people can't get to a farmer's market. Kern County in the mountains, et cetera.
Yes.
And it's shelf stable, and they want to have good food.
Right.
They should be able to order it and have it shipped, not just from LA to San Francisco. There's a lot of California that is remote. So that's why it really comes down to Class A, Class B. That you have to.
Okay.
And again, too, you know, for us, and this is something else, we take our cue from the state. And, you know, for going back, the bill got passed, we need to implement. So if something that don't make sense or doesn't that needs to be changed, when they clean up, it goes back and put them in. We implement the bill.
Can you just describe, we never talked about the differences between Class A and Class B.
So let me, yeah.
In terms of requirements, so I'm a Class A producer, what does that mean? What do I have to do? I'm a Class B producer. What's different about those two?
Good question. So for Class A, all you need to do is you need
Hold on
to...
just a second. We're just talking now about the difference between Class A and Class B. What are the requirements for each? I'm sorry.
May I ask, as you go through the differences between the two, can you talk about the fee structures for the two,
Yes.
including, for example, having re-inspections, and then whether there's costs involved, say somebody says that your food got sick, and so therefore any bill they require an inspection, whether you're Class A or Class B, will you be required to pay for it, et cetera, et cetera?
And the fee structure. When we talk about the fee structure.
Okay. So let's start with Class B. I mean A, and then we'll go to B. So A, all you need to do is to register. And for us, you can do that registration online. We said, unfortunately, we're not accepting credit card right now. We're working on doing that. So you have to actually just send us a check, or you can come to the office and pay for it. Can mark in.
Is there a timeline on being able to process that online for those of us who don't?
We're doing the first come, first serve. So if you come in,
No, but for those of us who live like south and don't know each other,
So-
actually then adapt our lives to.
so what I'm saying is the best way is to, unfortunately, if you have to make a trip down there, and as soon as you come in, we'll take care of it.
Okay. But there's no timeline on getting a partner to pay online through the website?
No,
There's time for that?
when you're not paid, we don't have a registration number yet.
Okay,
So
where
as
do you
soon as you
locate?
pay.
Where, yeah.
Where do you locate?
Baldwin, we're located in Baldwin Park. Baldwin Park. 5050 Commerce Drive.
And can I say something so everybody, our website has all this information.
Yes.
It's so much easy. When you just log in, you have the Q&A, the FAQs, everything that will answer most of this. So if you need information, and our little business card here too.
We'll
So
put it on the
if you
board.
guys want to grab one?
Write it on the board.
Yeah, if you can.
The website.
The website.
You can mail the check or the money order.
Right.
Yeah,
And the fee structure is, now just Class A is $65. Class B is $194, which, let me tell you, is on the low end of the spectrum across California. I've been hearing what people, what counties, other counties have been charging. It's generally higher than this. So again, I'm going to thank you guys. The whole idea here, when we started out, we said, oh my God, what are the counties going to be charging? Because we wanted to help small entrepreneurs, and we didn't want getting a permit to sort of be a barrier to success. So we said, well, as long as you can get a Class A registration for well under $100, we figure that sounds good. And $65, I think, is a bargain. And $194 to be able to sell indirectly, it's fantastic.
Now, can I add to that before we put ourselves in the back? This is why some counties haven't implemented this yet, because any fee has to go to the board of supervisor to approve before we can charge anything. So for us to expedite this, we kind of figure out the time it will take to do that, but it hasn't been approved by the board yet. So when you read it, it said we're charging an hourly rate. Now, all this now is going to go to the board of supervisor, which we're looking at maybe getting approved maybe somewhere between March and hopefully around that time to May. And then when the board approves anything, it takes another month for it to be effective. So we're looking at July 1st, since it's our fiscal year started that way. That's when the actual fees will actually go up. Now we're hoping it won't be too high.
So the fees are going to go up?
We don't know. That's what I'm saying. We don't know. The board may be cheaper. It may be a little bit more. We don't know. But
So the
based
permits
on
now are issued through like the beginning July? Or?
We're using a permit right now based on what we determine how much it's going to cost to do business right now.
Okay.
Right. Well, let me just ask you this. Do you think that if there is a change in the fee, would then we be required to spend the difference?
No, you will not. Whatever we charge right now, that's what it is. But if you change, whoever come along,
I see. So, okay.
Excuse me, are the fees on a calendar year, a fiscal year, or?
the registration is going to be on the calendar year. So if you're a class A, it's on the calendar year. If you're a class B, a B will be on a fiscal because you get a permit every year. You have to renew every year. So that means we're saying out in July, but we expire in June.
Oh, so wait, mine is going to expire at the end of
You get a
June.
new, but you get a new, no, but you get a new one, which will now go all the way to last year.
No, but I have to pay for it. I thought I was going to do the bar.
The part about the week.
Hold on just a second. I got a question about prorated. Or is the fees prorated?
Are the fees prorated?
It's not pro, because in law you get one inspection for class B a year. So even this one, we still give you the one inspection.
Can we still talk about the difference?
Yeah, so let's finish that one. So the A, you register, you send us the label, you pay for the fee, and everything is good. We send you a registration number and say you're good to go.
And you fill out a self-certification.
A self-certification was on our website. You need to fill that out. That's what you need for A.
And then so for A, just a timeline, I go online, I fill out the form, I drive up, I give you a check. Then the processing time for actually, we need to actually get that physical certificate.
Actually, if you bring everything, a couple of them came to office, we give them the registration number on it right there.
Gotcha. So pretty quick turnaround to
Yes.
actually get the registration.
Hey, Freddie, how many people have you got approximately?
I think the Friday we got like 26. They one and then I think everybody's on vacation. Kind of dies down, but right now we have 34 total for A and B. And we have 21 class A and we have 13 class B.
But can you talk a little bit about the food handler's license involved in that?
Yes, okay, let me finish class B and then we'll...
But mine has to do with the class, both are the same form, you just check one or two. But there is a question that I think a lot of people have a question about. It says, one question on there says, do you have permission from your city/county city planning? Now, and that's the only question that is stopping me at this point from applying, and I'm sure I'm not alone. They don't know what's going, nobody has even heard of the Cottage Food Law.
Let me jump in on that too about zoning. This is Los Angeles City.
Right.
The zoning issues happen at the municipal level, not at the county level. So I called the LA City Planning Department and explained what I was intending to do. And a very nice woman there said, "You're all set." She sent me a copy of the municipal code. They said, as long as you follow the municipal code for this home-based business, it's well within the permissible use of a home for a home-based business. You're okay.
Can you post that?
No, I did on the Facebook page. A lot of these questions come up on the Facebook page. I really can't urge you enough to go. It's just we're getting these questions from all over. So, have we finished with the class?
That's class B at all, so let's be great.
Now, so let's finish with B. And I did.
Right,
So,
can I add something? When you come to A, you also need to provide us a copy of the label, the product.
Yeah, product. And so like individual, and I'm sure it's on the website, I apologize for not having read it private.
Oh, it's
It's on the website.
Each individual product we have will make a separate label for that, with the ingredients, how we'll be looking on it.
So if you go on our website, this is, he has, this is what you need to do. He has all this, if you need any questions, so we have all that on there. We have what we call the guideline. So this has everything that you need in there. You can print it out, the label requirements, everything is on there. If you don't know how to do the labels, we just pull this straight from the state website. What the label requirement is, and we'll put it on there. let's say doesn't meet what the requirement is, all we tell you is send us a revised copy and then we'll go ahead and approve it. Okay. So class B, you don't need to do a self-checklist. All you have to do is do the registration. We get them, we'll set up a date, first come, first serve. And then somebody will call you, contact you that you need to have your label ready when you get there. Of course, you come in and pay first before we can come out. We don't want to come out and say, oops, I don't have money. So once you come in and pay, we set up a date and you can come and do that inspection. Once we do that inspection, we'll give you a permit on the spot where you can put on the label.
The number, right?
Yeah,
but apparently they don't have the physical permits printed yet.
Because remember, it hasn't gone to the board and all that, so we're waiting for that to click. But not to hold everybody back. This is in the meantime we're doing it so we can get the process forward.
Right.
So just one follow-up question, just in coming in, doing the inspection for Class B. When you're looking at this, I apologize if it's clearly stated on the website, we need to have all of our business license information, all of the permits from the city, all of that. Do you care about that at all, or are you simply inspecting the site premises?
For our permit purposes, we're not looking at that.
Right. Remember, there's all these other things that you.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
You have to take this up.
Is there an inspection list posted somewhere?
Inspection checklist?
Yeah.
We can actually pull one up. That's a good question.
That would be hugely helpful if we could go ahead of time just to know exactly what information we're on.
We'll pull one up. We'll find an inspection checklist.
Yeah, the checklist.
Okay, quick. Okay.
You mentioned this briefly about running a home business, but how did they decide that you only have one employee and what's the issue? That also, if you're a nonprofit or a corporation or operating under something else, how is the health department going to interact with that or force it or get it?
Well, the issue of the nonprofits really never came up. So.
Right. But if you have more than one person, let's say if you have volunteers, if you have.
It doesn't matter if it's paid or unpaid, but the thing is, this is the way the law is written. It's your family or household member, they're not considered to be employees if they're in a family or household. Anybody beyond that that's actually doing work for you, whether they're paid or not, is considered to be an employee. And you can have the equivalent of one. Now, we fought and fought and fought to have more than this because we thought that that was unnecessarily restrictive. But the retail food people said, no, we have to, they just to let you know, they tried to limit it in any way that they possibly could. And we had to fight them on all this stuff. And so they were particularly adamant about that and about some kind of gross sales one, which then...
Can I just say something really quick about why there's a limit to how many employees? And I'm on the retail end, right? So there's a food handler's process that happens, and there's a cross-contamination situation. Every time it enters somebody else's hands, there's more likelihood of cross-contamination to occur. So on my end, I need to know that when you make that product, that it's not being, like, depending on who your employee is that day or who your volunteer is that day, they might not have all the information, they might not have that food handler's card, they might not understand what cross-contamination really means. And that's my understanding of why that's been put into place for now.
Okay. Now the other thing that I think is very important to bring up right now is the food handler's court. Because, again, the state of California, they have two roles to play in this entire process. One is to put the list up, which they did, and the second is to come up with a cottage food operator's course, which they fell down on completely. Not that they they haven't got their act together yet. We don't know exactly when that's going to take place, so that sort of threw everything into uncertainty. Because under the rules of under the law, we actually have to, within 90 days of getting our permit or registration, we have to take this so far non-existent course. So I personally was advocating during this process that just everybody at least start with a food handler's card. And I went and I took the course online. It's like $10, $15. It doesn't take that long. And it's just common sense stuff. And I would urge everybody to start there.
Where online is that?
anywhere. Just Google it. There's California Food Handlers.
There's two different kinds of food handler certificates, so we want to talk a little bit about that because the assistants or the employees should carry the food safety card, and the producer should do the food handlers, which is a little bit more expensive than the $10 fee.
It's the manager.
Are you
Right.
talking about
The
the
manager.
food bill requirement?
No, I'm talking about
Overall.
overall.
Okay.
I'm a retailer,
Right.
right? But I was a cook before, and
Right.
I'm a general manager of a restaurant, so I have to sit down for an 8-hour class, and I have to talk about food temperature, holding temperatures, all these kinds of things. And my shop carries an umbrella policy to make sure that I'm covered in all these areas, right? My employees aren't necessarily required to have a food handler's license, because I don't personally deal with prepared food. But I think that it's important for people that are getting involved in this to know that there are two separate certificates are available. And the more extensive of a workshop and class that you're willing to take shows me as the person who's going to retail your product how invested you are and that you really understand what's going on with your food.
And that is a great point, but for us, we can only enforce what the state requirement is. And right now, that requirement is having a food processor, which the state is going to develop. For food handler, which Mark says, it's a great idea to even start doing that, but we cannot require anybody to do that.
Right. They
Because
can
it's not
recommend it,
with
but
the-
they can't require it. Right. And the thing is, we're not going to know until well into 2013 when this course that California is going to offer. But we do know that whenever it is offered, we're all going to have to go out and take it. There's no question
But
about
what
that.
if it's offered after 90 days? Are you not?
Well, that's just, let me explain. I was in the negotiations on that because believe me, we brought that up on more than one occasion. And basically, the state of California just is looking the other way, and they're leaving it up to the individual counties. One thing we did not want to have happen is April 1st, all the permits to be voided. And so, even though technically it's up to the individual counties, we don't think, we hope that nothing's going to happen. We don't really think it is.
My experience, if it's not going to happen, the state will send something out so let everybody know we're going to stand in.
So,
Is there a current position you guys have on it? Assuming that the state doesn't magically come up with something in 90 days, what's the current position of the health department?
That's what I'm saying. The state will give a directive what we need to do. Either we should accept what is being done right now or we're standing. So we don't know yet. We don't know.
I went on the state website last night and it did say that by mid-January they plan to have something.
well, okay, let's
There was a question in the back and then
Okay, I want to talk about the shelf life, like buttercream. Some buttercreams that people make don't require the actual butter. They use the high ratio powdered sugar and a flavor and water. So can you use stuff like that and fondant for your cakes? A lot of that stuff has a great shelf life. And it's, I mean, so here it's not listed, it said like the baked goods without creams and custards. And another thing, sometimes you find the little fruit, when you go to the store, it's sitting on the shelf for your cakes, the filling. It's sitting right there on the shelf and not refrigerated.
so the question is, should I allow that? And then will you answer me?
Yes,
That's the same buttercream that may not
That's not
have
the
butter or cream in it.
Right.
What is it made of?
Okay, it's like high ratio shortening, powdered sugar.
May I suggest that we don't ask questions of that specificity, but rather stay with.
Because those really, to be truthful, that is the state. You have to talk to the state. They maintain the list of what can be on and what cannot.
Okay.
So if you have something that you think it should be on, like Mark said, now the state can look at it and say, yes, we should add or we should take out. Yes, ma'am, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. I realize that you are from the Baldwin Park office, but I know from experience in other county offices, the health department offices, are they, any of the other satellite offices doing inspections like this, or is it just going through Baldwin Park?
Right now, everything is going through the main office until we get everything in place and then we transition it out.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to continue on the fee structure. So we have the initial fees, but say you fail your inspection in Class B, and the law also provides that you can be inspected if somebody provides a complaint against your food. Will you be required to pay for such an inspection, and what the fees will be for re-inspections or for these additional inspections?
Okay. I will, yeah, why don't you answer?
No, I was going to answer. I couldn't repeat the question.
Oh, let me go. Yeah, I'm sorry. Will we be required to pay for a re-inspection if we either fail or somebody lodges a complaint?
So for now, and I'm saying now because all this has been worked out, if we come in to do an inspection, we're not anticipating coming back and doing a re-inspection unless really everything that can go wrong was wrong. So if we came in and something needs to be fixed, we might say, you need to correct this and send it to us. Remember, it's your home kitchen. It's not going to meet commercial kitchen standard. So we're not going to have you meet that standard. But what we're going to tell is maybe you need to fix this, to make sure that this thing's taken care of. We're not going to come back and do a re-inspection. We'll probably recommend you fix that. Now, the second question then was, how about if you got a complaint, you have to come out. Now, that is a charge fee. So that goes with Class A and Class B. If people are complaining, but for a restaurant and stuff, all those are built in your payment. So for you getting complaints when we come in, that is charged. That is a charge fee for complaint.
Can I respectfully beg to differ here? Because my interpretation of the bill and the law is, and I recall this issue coming up when we were drafting, if there's something wrong, yes, then they can charge you. I mean, that's what we intended when we wrote the bill. We thought, look, if somebody's going to lodge a frivolous complaint against you, and there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, then why should you be penalized for it? If this person is just trying to do something.
And let me add to that. I agree with you with that. Yes, there's some way to that there's nothing wrong. But we may come in, it may not be just a complaint, there may be other things that you're doing that doesn't mean what you're supposed to. For example, we come in, you're not supposed to be baking outside. But we had a complaint that you do something wrong and we realized all your food is being baked outside.
Right.
That we will charge because
it wasn't because you're doing something wrong.
Right. So when I don't want to put out that we will not charge when we go out.
No. I'm saying it's a baseless or groundless complaint. If you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't be charged. So the idea behind the fee structure is that we try to make it high enough so that the county could cover its costs for a certain number of groundless complaints. I mean, we didn't really know what it was going to be, and we assumed that Angela Bellomo and the people at the LA County Health Department factored that in to the fee structure.
So just one more follow-up question on the fee structure. Are there any other fees whatsoever that would be involved in this cottage fee?
In the county, for us, no. But for cities and whatever we're doing, I don't know.
Yeah, there are lots of other, you've got to talk to the state organization, you've got to talk about.
But for us, no.
There are, and you should really check that out. There are.
Yeah, because remember, you're
In
now,
LA cities.
you're now small business people. Rights and privileges. I don't know if it was
Come back or sit back and then we come.
If you're Class A to start, and then you decide to go to a Class B, do you pay the full fee or do you pay $129?
Oh, what?
Let me, Paul, can I repeat that question? If you start out with Class A and then move up to Class B, do you pay the full Class B price, or do you get a break because you already paid $65?
Unfortunately, we don't give a break on that. If you go to B, you have to go to the whole process again.
But you can do that at any point. You don't have to wait for the next calendar year because they're on different calendars anyway, so you can do that at any point.
Well, yeah, you can switch at any point, yes.
Anyway, so, yes.
Does it matter whether I rent or own a home?
Does it matter whether you rent or own your home?
It's where you live.
Yeah, that's it. It's just where you live.
So it's between me and my landlord?
Yes.
You don't care if it's on?
That's between my landlord.
That's how home business, check out business regulations.
That's a home business.
That's the home business regulations for an asshole.
And rent,
They are very specific.
Okay, in the back, we'll take that.
I was just wondering, does does it have anything to do with HOA if you're in a condominium?
That's the question, how do HOAs get involved?
Yeah, they
Yes,
have
again,
to.
That's a business regulation.
Yeah, you've got to figure that out with the HOA people, that's all.
Can we talk a little bit more about real-life sanitation situations? Is there a requirement for people to have a dishwasher so that when these baking equipments and bowls and spatulas and various things are going to be washed, that there's are you checking temperatures are you checking the water temperatures as you would for me?
Well, they did, when they came out to inspect my house, they checked my water temperature.
They did check your water temperature.
Hot water, but to go back to, I know you're going 120 degrees and all that. For cottage food, it's not, the bill is not going to be like a commercial kitchen. So for hand washing, all it stated is warm water.
Right, I'm talking about equipment, sanitation.
There's no, it just says.
What it says, if we change the product, we have to change the label and submit those revised labels.
Yes.
There will be no additional fee in that, but we just get them, send to you, you good, and
Unless you totally change what you're doing, you went from A to a B.
okay.
Ban on pets in the kitchen. We're talking about ban on pets in the kitchen.
It states very clearly that when you're preparing food and doing anything, there should not be pets or children.
So suppose two questions. Suppose you're baking. I mean, if everything else is done. Would that still, the pet still could be in the kitchen? And also suppose you have a big loft kind of kitchen, so the room, the kitchen is only one small part of a very large room. How would it apply?
So I would say no pets until you package, the food is gone, or of course when it's your own family time, making that is allowed. But when you're doing your cottage food business, I would just keep more food.
Yeah, how about the big, small kitchen in a big room?
I would maintain keep the pets away from the food.
Yes.
Is there a limit of how many products you can have per permit?
Is there a limit to the number of products you can have per permit? Yeah, maybe you make cookies or cakes or...
Oh, no, then if you go there, you can check anything that's on the list, you can check that you're going to do okay.
But
you just have to give us a label.
Yeah, and you have to, so you have to report everything that you're going to be doing. And my assumption is that if you change, you have to let the guys know.
So if you have 50 cookies, you have to have a label for every cookie, different cookie you make.
Different kinds of cookie, right? Yes.
Different ingredients.
Right, right. Because remember, you may have a cookie that have peanuts in it or something. Maybe I like it too.
Different technique as bread, where one might be a round loaf, one might be a long loaf.
Right, but the ingredients are the same. There's so many ingredients.
There's on the regular says permanent and registered area.
So what we're talking about is storage of ingredients. Is there, what regulations?
So, anywhere you designate as your registered or permanent area, that's where you're going to keep the food, storage and all that, that's what we're going to permit that place as. Your garage, for example, will not be allowed to be a permanent or registered area. But if you designate the room to be a storage, then it has to be just that. Cannot be sleeping quarters, other things in there, but just as a storage.
Now also remember that when they come to inspect your home kitchen, your permitted area for Class B, under the legislation, they're only entitled to go to the permitted area. That's the only place they can inspect. They're not supposed to go upstairs to your bathrooms or your bedrooms, whatever. They're just there to inspect your kitchen, the permitted area.
What do you designate?
Which is why we asked that question on the registration for A and B. It's on both.
You need to tell us where you're going.
What to inspect, right? I think you were...
Following up on that one, actually, so if you have a pantry and you have certain shelves that are for the business, can you also have certain shelves for your home, or does the whole pantry then have to be the same area?
That's a good question. To you, I think if you label them as such, we'll have up that this half is for that, and this one, as long as there's no kind of cross-contamination going on.
And the sanitation, the follow-up on the sanitation too, I have to warn everyone because people can over-sanitize accidentally poisoning people. So
All the time.
yes. So you know, you think, oh, I'm using bleach. It's to a particular. There's strips and there's things. So please, if you haven't, if you're new to this, take the class. Take the class. You don't want to burn it.
Don't do what my mom used to have on weekends. And the house didn't smell like pine soil, it wasn't clean. So I learned early on to just dump pine soil everywhere so she would check. So if it smelled like bleach and it smelled too much and that probably put in too much and that becomes a chemical contaminant. So having the test strip in order to check, it's really a good idea, making sure it's the right concentration. Yeah, customers will love it. But what I want to add is, if you have a question, how to make those solutions, how to do them, please give us a call. We have handouts on our website, how to properly do them, so that you can do it right.
Right. And it is all there. I mean, I've seen it referred more than once as to exactly what the concentration is for bleach to water. And I think in the blue in the back, we were taking it up first for a long time.
It's just my daily exercise.
Yeah.
What's your lead time for coming out to do inspections? I mean, say I show up on Monday at Baldwin Park with everything in order, et cetera, then when can I expect you to come to my house?
For now, we're looking at 3 days.
Really?
Yes.
You
We're
guys
looking
are
at
like on it.
For 3 days, for a couple of times. That's why I keep saying for now. If we have 1,000, guys, we show up now, that's going to push it back.
Right.
But the ones that are coming in, we're doing the due diligence to get out and get them done and move on.
And do you have a fairly, I mean, has the department designated and trained certain of you to be cottage kitchen inspectors, or is it, okay?
And that's why I think somebody has this, I think it was you from other offices. This is what we start from our main office,
Okay.
and then we'll transition to our
That's right, because they're training people.
Okay.
Is that a set time?
Oh,
Yes.
Or is it from and to? Like, is it a window of 3 hours, or is it a specific time that you schedule?
To schedule. You
Oh,
schedule for
yes, we do call, and Mike, you got a call from us that we're going to come out.
right. They let me know beforehand, and they gave me a window. They said, well, actually, in my case, they said we'll be there between 9:30 and 10:30. I said, fine. They
Thank
showed
you.
up exactly on time.
Because again, this is, as if we get more people, we're probably going to push it back a little bit. Because we are want to get it to.
Okay, I think you were next, and then you.
Can you talk a little bit about this cap on sales?
Sure, it's $35,000. What that means is gross sales, just through your food.
And is that's Class A only?
No, it's both. Class A or Class B.
So what was the rationale behind that?
Well, all right.
Sorry.
Get into that. That was probably like the biggest fight that we had doing this whole thing, because we felt that we being other food producers felt that, look, we're going to be limited just by the sheer size of our kitchen and our shelf space, and we just physically can't produce that much. And one employee, exactly. So, I mean, well, originally we didn't think that there should be a limit on this, but actually, I agree brought up a good point about it that I haven't thought about in terms of limiting the number of employees. But still, we thought, why impose this cap? The other states, some didn't have caps. Some had caps that were like really, really low, like $5,000. And it was basically the pushback from the big retailers, because there's the CFS, California Retail Food Safety Coalition, CRFSC, and that's a coalition of health department people and big retailers, and they were the ones who were pushing for this cap. And we pushed back and we said, no, because they wanted a really, really low cap. And we said, that's ridiculous, because I brought up the point of San Francisco. San Francisco, as I'm sure all of you are aware, they have the highest minimum wage in the country. It's like over $10 an hour. So if you're entitled to have a full-time employee, pay that person minimum wage in San Francisco plus the benefits they're required to have. And that's what, $20,000 $5,000 or $10,000, it's just not worth it. So we fought to get it as high as possible, and it was the negotiations, and finally, Jerry Brown's office came up with this idea of starting at $35,000, going to $45,000, and $50,000. So the governor at the last minute stepped in and we're very pleased with her and came up with this idea. So what it means is in 2013 you can gross $35,000 for your sale. 2014 it goes up to $45,000. And 2015 and beyond is $50,000.
Is the permit on a personal? So let's say Ernie gets his permit and we're roommates. And, we share the kitchen, and I'm going to do something different. Is the permit for that kitchen, or is the permit for his business, or his person, or, see what I'm saying? So, like, if you have a household, which you're renting with 3 other people who are all in this industry, and you all have different businesses, is the $35,000 limit based on the kitchen, his particular stuff, somebody else's particular?
If I was a lawyer, I'd say you're each on your own, but hey, I'm not.
So the question really is the permit based on the business?
The law says your home kitchen. So but what you're saying is now you have 3 people living in a home, running a home kitchen.
Let me ask you, your permit, is the name of your business given the permit, or is Mark's?
The name of the business, but I'm listed as the owner of the business. Right. And by the way, my business is Pignon Boulanger, so keep an eye on
So the question is, could somebody else come and use your kitchen the rest of the time?
If they live there. My wife, I think that if my wife started a killer, but she wanted to use the kitchen as well to do her baking.
So the financial limitations are to the permit, not to the kitchen.
That's why it's to the permit. It doesn't say to the home. But again, this is a new thing. It's a new law. So as this goes, when it comes to the money side, I'm not a money person.
So for example, we would both apply, but the kitchen isn't already inspected, so we would pay our fee.
And then how the money is for us, we're looking at who holds the permit.
Okay.
So each person would need a permit. Each business would be
Person, business.
And I suppose they could have, but you could have one inspection for 2 different permits.
No, 2.
Now you have to send the person out twice.
Because they're preparing separate
Yes.
different type of food.
So it's all not that you ask. Did we get to? No, I'm sorry.
I have 2 questions. One, William, or do you have posted the counties that have reciprocity with us?
Have we posted anywhere, has the county posted anywhere, those counties that have reciprocity with Los Angeles County? And
right now we don't, because the CCDA haven't met yet to discuss who is going to be doing that. But in LA County, we have City of Vernon, Pasadena, and Long Beach that have their own health department. Those we are allowing.
And they're allowed.
Now, I can't speak for them, but we are allowing that. So in Pasadena, Long Beach, City of Vernon, we are allowing that. And we are allowing that.
okay, so what does that mean exactly? Does that mean somebody who lives in Long Beach can get
So if we see
permit?
No, they don't. They can go to Long Beach, get their permit, whatever. But we see them selling it outside Long Beach. That's another county. We're not going to have a problem with it.
Okay.
Now, would Long Beach allow someone from LA County to go to Long Beach? That's Long Beach Health Department.
All right. So that's the sort of reciprocity issue. Okay.
So if I have this registered manager's certificate, is that sufficient, or am I going to also have to get, which I think is more stricter or more difficult than cottage food? Am I going to have to get cottage food?
For the state requirement, yes, because that's part of the cottage food bill.
Yeah, and the other thing that we wrote into the bill was that this course cannot last more than 4 hours. So, sorry, not 8 hours, but 4 hours. And what we're hoping is that you, particularly people who live in sparsely populated counties, can do this online rather than have to drive hours to get someplace to actually take this course. We don't know whether what the state's going to do, what they're going to come up with. But that's, I'm sorry? Don't know. We don't know. We just look at it.
I think he was next.
You said your permit was issued to your business. Does it matter what kind of business you establish, sole proprietorship versus LLC or corporation?
Does it matter what kind of business you establish to do the work in-house to get the permit? No, because the thing is,
yeah, for us,
but this is the
it's
help
between you and the city or wherever you are.
Right. Well, and also I called, just so you know, I called the LA City Finance Department because they're the ones that actually issue business. It's not a business license. It's what's called a business tax registration certificate, BTRC. And what they say, because when I'm not baking, I'm actually a consultant and I work out of my house. I've had one of these things for years, and I every year renew it. And I called them and I said, look, I'm going to be opening up a second business with the same residence. In addition to the consulting, I'm going to now be doing this home-based baking stuff. Oh, really? Yes. And they said, if look, your tax registration certificate for that address covers all the businesses that you're going to be having at that particular address. So you have to file, and I just filed it, every year you have to file how much money you're going to be making or did make the previous year, because that determines whether or not you pay city tax. And the first $100,000 in the city of LA is tax exempt. So if you're going to be making less than 100 grand, you're in the clear. Over that, then you have to pay some money to the city.
And to follow up to your question too, for us, all the residents have we contacted the planning department in that city or whatever, because the bill requires that we contact them. So, right, you need to talk to them, and they probably can give you more information when you need to.
Right, and as I say, if you get this very nice woman in the LA City Planning Department, her name was Karen, I can't remember her last name, but she just said, fine, here's the municipal code, make sure you adhere to it, it'll be okay. And the thing is, coincidentally, a lot of the stuff is in the municipal code for home-based businesses. It's also in the food, the cottage food law. I mean, it's just because you can't have a lot of people showing up at one time. In fact, I think under the municipal code in Los Angeles, you're only allowed to have one off-site employee. I didn't know this, but that's, once again, it's reflected in the cottage food law. So it works out rather nicely. And there are other things that you can't have. You can't put the signage on your house. You can't advertise it. But labeling is not considered to be advertising. So that's the other thing which you should be aware. We really wanted to avoid having to put your home address on your label. Because we just thought that was a terrible idea. I did not want my home address to be on every loaf of bread that I sell. It's absurd. But unfortunately, it is indeed the case if you have an unlisted phone number. If you're not in the phone directory, white pages, then you have to put your home address on the label. This is a federal regulation. I don't know if we can do anything about it because the state has to follow the federal regulations. Now, luckily, at the same time, I am in the phone book. But I still have to put the city, the state, and I believe the zip code on my label. But I don't have to put my street address. So thankful for
and
that.
when you submit, you do check your name to see from the white page.
They did. When they came out, they said, we checked, we saw that you're on the white.
Is that your personal or your business?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, well, the thing is, it has to be, the location has to be your home.
Right.
So,
But what if it's your spouse's name, your phone, and not under yours, and it's your home, but it's under your spouse's name?
oh, I see what you mean.
You need to tell it then.
Okay, have to get his.
Because we're going to come and do the inspection on that location. If you live there, or your spouse lets you be there that day. You are so much your home, right?
Yeah, but the other thing,
It's in his name, and not in my name.
well, that's actually an excellent point, and that's something we have to do some more research on, because under CFR 101.5, I do think they say it has to be the name of the business. So the proprietor has to be on the label, and the address has to be on there. So I looked, because when I was reading this specifically, I mean, I don't often read the Code of Federal Regulation, but I was looking for that specifically to see what I would have to put on my label. So I put my name on the label. So in addition to Pagnon Boulanger, which is my fancy name on the business, I put Mark Stambler. I said, you know, because the beginning of this whole process, in talking to the health department people, they said, you know, we're really sorry, but you're going to have to put on your label that it was made in a home kitchen. And I said, that's not a challenge for me, that's like a benefit. So what I'm putting on my label is proudly made in Mark Stambler's home kitchen. Because I think that's, look, that's our sales pitch right there. I mean, you know, it's like, this is really great quality homemade food. And I want everybody to know. So the other thing that you have to be aware of is, with like my bread, most places that are going to sell my bread, it's not going to be labeled because they don't, what they do is they do the individual packaging right there. And they wrap it in butcher paper or whatever, and they say, in that case, you have to have a little sign that says it's homemade, and you have to have that information on it. So I'm going to come up with a cute little sign that can be posted. So, sorry.
And that reason behind that too, made home, was as a restaurant, we don't want a restaurant putting stuff says homemade. Homemade when it was, and that's false advertising. Some people use that for business purposes, you know, grandma's pie, you know, home stuff. Restaurant can say home style.
But they can't say homemade.
But they cannot say homemade.
All right.
So if you
Right
don't
now,
want your
this is
name,
such a homemade.
if you don't want your name, and you don't want your address, you could put, you should get correct me if I'm wrong, you should get a business line in the name of your business and publish it.
Listed.
You can actually just get an additional listing of your name.
Yeah, as long as, right,
Whatever.
right, yeah, as long as the address is in the
On the
white
white
page, it's in the white pages, you're in the clear.
The address is.
Yeah, and this side.
Not just the phone number, but you need the address.
The address, that's the important thing for the feds, anyway. Over at
Can you talk
next.
through a complaint? Can you talk through what, for you as the health department, how the complaint regimen works, and A, the communication into you, how that happens, and then B, how you interface with us?
How many hours do you have?
I have the rest of the day.
Just a
Yeah,
quick,
we keep getting it.
so this is going through the complaint process. Really, anybody can file a complaint. Anybody. If I don't like you, I think your food is bad, I can call and file a complaint. That doesn't mean it's legit or not, but for us, we respond to every complaint.
And are we required at that point of sale to provide the information, if you have a complaint, here's who you contact, in any way? shape, or
If
form?
they call, hopefully they'll say, you know, hey, this bread, it has this name on it. Okay. And this cookie, it has this name on it. This is the registration, the permit number. We can now trace back who that person is. When then we say, you know, complaint has been filed.
So how did that happen? You send me a letter that says cease all business?
For restaurant, usually we go there, call them, let them know, we go there and do what we call complaint investigation. This one, we haven't got one yet, we haven't done one yet. So probably since it's home based, you may be at work when we call, so we may not get a show, we may call you first. And so we receive a complaint, and if something we need to forward, we're probably going to follow up. If something that may not be, you know, it says they charge me too much, or something that's has nothing to do with health. So we may not come back. But if it's something somebody got sick, or there's an outbreak and all that, then that'll elevate to a whole different level.
And so it's kind of on an, so I can repeat my understanding, it's kind of on an ad hoc basis, depending on the complaint.
Right.
And somebody got seriously ill, you can contact me and stop me from.
That's what I wanted to follow up with. I mean, when the inspectors came out to my kitchen, they let me know, and I completely understand, that this is like a learning experience for both of us. They said, hey, we're going to come out here and we're going to teach you a thing or two about what your kitchen should look like, what you should do, and then you tell us what you're doing so we can, because they didn't really know how to inspect or this kind of thing. And yeah, but the idea is that we have to really operate in good faith here, and that they're trying to help us. They're not really the bad guys. So the idea is that they're trying to help us do it in a way that's not going to make anybody sick. So if they have a complaint, they'll work with you.
How the information gets back to us, you know, because ostensibly the health department being the first one contacted, we're making shelf stable food, hopefully this will never happen.
About one, two, we'll never tell you what the complainant is. We don't disclose that information because of obvious reasons. So we will just say somebody filed a complaint against and this is what the complaint.
Let me also interject one other, very, very brief anecdote here. During this whole process of writing the bill and doing the legislation, this was always the specter that was hanging over us. It was just like, oh my God, is it going to unleash this torrent of complaints? Will the health departments be able to keep up with it? So what I did is I called about 12 different health departments around the country that had cottage food laws. And I said, look, have you ever had a problem with this? How's it going? You know, and I called Oregon, I called Ohio, I called Mexico, I called all these. And to one, they said, no, there's never been a complaint. What you have to keep remembering is that this is not potentially hazardous food. This stuff
Cards, too.
Really, I mean, unless you do something awful to it.
Well, there's always the accident. You know, it's some, you know, again, all the best intentions and practices, but that was the curiosity. If something unforeseen could happen,
but
how do I find out?
Right.
But at least we'll log these complaints, we'll go through them like everything else, and we'll look at them, what the issue is, and something we use as a training.
Gotcha, okay.
So if we get, you know, the same complaint about maybe do a hand washing, then we know that we need to put more resources to educating people, you know, how food about hand washing. Then we hope we never have to get there, but if that's what we do now.
Though I'm in the county of Los Angeles, but I live in Pasadena, which has a department, I don't do your process. I go to City of Pasadena.
But we are, LA County will allow you to sell it.
Have you tried yet?
No, I don't. I've been to the just a general, is anything up yet? And I haven't
Nothing's
seen
up yet?
No, so I might go to
Yeah, that's right.
We have an existing business, it's not a food business now. And we also have a business license under a P.O. box because we operate out of our home. We didn't want to have our home address there. What do we put on our label when we have our food license? And we're in the white pages.
Okay, can I, because I know this, it has to be a street address. It cannot be a P.O. box under the federal regulations. So even Monsanto or Kraft Foods or whatever, they have to have someplace where it does this.
So the white pages defines it, not the P.O. box.
Right, right. And it's a street address. They're very clear about that in the regulations.
So you said that if our phone number or address is not listed in the white pages, they have to list that information on the label. I have a cell phone number and I'm not sure if those are listed.
But you don't have to put your cell phone number, just your address.
But if we don't want to put the address on the label.
Well, that's just it. I mean, this is an antiquated law because phone books, my gosh. I mean, nobody thinks their address.
White
well, but still. Okay. But, so that's just it. The law, again, is very, very specific about this. It has to be either the phone book or the city directory. I don't even know what a city directory is, but whatever it is, it's got to be one of those two places, and it has to be your name and your street address, and then you don't have to put it on the label.
What about the phone number? She and I have the same problem. Neither of us have a landline.
Does anybody know if the white pages is owned by the phone companies anymore, or if that's a separate? Like, you have to have a line through one of the major services.
I can't answer that. All I know is like Mark went online to the white pages, but nobody have a. It was on there.
That's right. Because I have, I have a landline, and I've always been listening to the phone. This is an excellent question, and it's something that we should clarify. Is it about the government? Yeah, they are the landline. Yeah, exactly. Because but the thing is this: you have to realize that this is a federal regulation. And so the state may be powerless to do anything about it. So all I can say is that maybe you'll have to somehow get listed in your phone record if you don't want your address on the label.
I think that's the question.
That I don't know. But the thing is, you have to figure out a way to get your street address into the white pages somehow. And I would suggest call the phone company, explaining the situation to them and say, what can we do? I only have a cell phone, but I need to have my... And maybe that's what the city directory is. I don't know. You know?
As long as your address is the white pages, then it's going to be on the label.
Exactly. That's it. And that's federal.
And it doesn't have a phone number. It doesn't have to have a phone number. If there's a way just to put your address
On the label?
No, in
And the phone directory.
Oh.
I don't remember that part of it. I don't remember what you actually have to have a phone number. I'm not sure why you don't need one, because basically they just want to see where your facility is located.
So when we go online, we're not looking for phone number.
Oh, you're not?
We're looking for the address. Or more than likely to come and register anyway.
Okay.
And you have to give us a phone number when you register. So we have that.
So if your business name is Great Britain, and you have a phone number in your name, you are listed as a proprietor of Great Britain, what is it that has to go on the label? I've got a phone number and my personal name. The label is going to say Great Britain. And for your purposes, I'm listed as the proprietor of Great Britain. Okay, my name is going to be on the label.
Right.
So,
Well, but the thing is this, is that you also are registered as the owner of that
Right.
business, and your street address under your name is in the phone directory. I still think that would cover it.
So that's what we're looking for. Because you're gonna when you register, you give me your name and your business name. The label is your business on there.
okay.
But I still know who you are.
So you can find me
Right.
necessarily so.
Exactly. Right.
Is that it? You can roll?
So it's not necessarily so the customer can find you, it's so that you guys can.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Change.
Well, it's too. Sometimes when let's say somebody calls a complaint, they might say, "Oh, their address or whatever on the label, trace back will be on there." But that's how we'll know it. But if you're not listed, that may be a little weird.
So I think what a lot of people are concerned about is people showing up at your door. And as being in farms and giving lectures and stuff like that, we have had that.
Yeah.
And people have literally knocked on a door, showed up and said, do you have anything for sale? It's like,
Yeah.
are you open? It's like,
Knocking on the gate. Are you open?
it's 9 a.m. on a Sunday. It's like, we just moved here from San Diego.
Oh, yeah. We thought you were open. No, we're not open.
And again, remember, we are just enforcing what the bill said. So all this.
That's the issue that people are concerned about, because that's something we've experienced. You know, you don't want somebody else to, like, you'll find something, so now people want candy. You know?
But where is your address showing up? Is it on your label?
No, they don't know. You know what happened? Willie Blackmore did an article in the Daisy Cable, and the address is still out there. And people come across that article, which has been reprinted elsewhere, and we've had people just show up and have driven a long way.
And they see farms.
So they say,
Well, we want to see farms.
where's your farm? Yeah,
Where'd you go?
Well, it's just, it's, they could have sent an email. Say, are you open for me? They just decided to go for a long time.
So I think that's the big concern. It's just because it is a home.
If you have a record of who you are, a permit number and all that kind of thing, why do we need to?
Again, I will refer back to the bill. That's the requirement in there.
But then if you go back to the bill says it has to follow the federal guidelines. So that's what it's done.
It's in the event that there's a major foodborne outbreak. Let's say you sell a bunch of your jams and jellies at a farm. And then
Look, this is a transparency
It's a
issue.
transparency.
It's a transparency issue, and I totally understand that people don't want their address out there. But what we're not hearing right here, there's two different options, right? There's a phone number option and there's an address option. Either way, they're getting both information. They're asking you to publish this in the white pages because of transparency. The general public, I tell you, is highly unlikely going to look you up in the white pages to try to find out your physical address if, in fact, the phone number option is the route you choose to go.
But again, what Mark said, some things is state, because because it's federal law, the state cannot do anything about it. The county cannot do anything until the federal law changes. So it's one of those requirements that's going to be there until it's changed.
You start wrapping up.
Yeah.
Any other questions?